Anybody remember Night at the Roxbury with the head? Hello. Second video of the day. Let's get it. Just got out of work, on my way home driving, and I wanted to make a video. I bring my Sony camera every day. Every day I bring it, and I never make a video because usually, like, when I'm on break, I'm just like, oh, for like a half an hour, you know what I mean? Sometimes not so much. Today I did a little live stream, but I'm waiting for one of the guys that I work with to, like, look at me and be like, what the hell is she doing now? Anyway, oh my god, my hair really is really crazy. Am I even filming? Is it even? Oh, great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay. Okay, sorry, I have to wait. 30, gotta go to 38, okay. I'm not cutting anything out, so it's just gonna be what it's gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Capiche? Anyway, so, yeah, so I wanted to talk about a topic. Hopefully the AC is not too high. I took my minivan today because I'm not gonna lie, I've been taking my minivan, but it's just so freaking hot. It's so hot. And driving, you can go ahead. I'm not gonna be looking at my my camera often because there's a lot of cowboys on the road right now. So anyway, but it's so hot, and like driving, like working all day sweating and then coming into a car that's hot, like a sauna hot, and then driving home for it, it's like a feeling of like you're in like purgatory, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not a good feeling, especially on a Monday. Anyway, so I wanted to talk real quick about being yourself, being what people would perceive as being a weirdo. It's something that I feel like everyone's like their own type of weird, and weird is not even a bad thing in the sense of like, you know, obviously there's things that are like, all right, that's weird, but like when it comes to like being like who you are, I think that a lot of people don't want to be themselves because they're embarrassed, or they're you know, self-conscious about what other people will think of them, and they don't want to be perceived as weird or different, or, you know, not like everyone else. And I'll tell you this much, like, only the last couple of years, I would say, like the last couple of years, I really tried not to have people like me for anything other than who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't try to have like I didn't try to fake the funk. Like now, I don't try to fake the funk. I don't try to pretend I'm this other person. I just am who I am. You know what I'm saying? And like, obviously, depending on the setting, I try to be a little more professional. You know what I mean? Like I try to do that, but after, like, you know, God forbid I have a glass of champagne, I mean, then it's just out the door, right? Then it's like, all right, well, that didn't work. But you know, when it comes to being different, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like everyone's a copycat. Everyone's a biter. They're all, you know, not everybody, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at, let's see if I'm still recording, my hair is insane, so I apologize. And I have like deep conditioner in it, like a leave-in conditioner. I ironed it. It's just not, this is what the state that it is right now, especially because I was like in the heat all day. But anyway, not everyone, but like if you look on YouTube, for example, everyone's faking the funk, right? Everyone, like so many people, you know, and it's like, and then they get to a point where they have a lot of subscribers, they have a lot of followers, they have a lot of clout, they're making money, whatever, and then they start to act more like who they are. And that's where we get into, like, you know, for the people that maybe they're people that don't do the best things, and that's where you get into like problematic behavior, but they're already on such a platform that it's like they don't give a damn, right? But they cared when they were growing their audiences, and they faked it until they got to that point. And I'm talking about a couple different people, no names, but I just feel like there's a lot of people that give a fake, false perception of who they are when in reality, if you just embrace who you are, you'll meet your people. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was a kid, I got bullied like crazy, right? Like relentlessly, I got bullied, and there were different parts of my life for different reasons. And then the bullying stopped once I started to fight back, which is a whole other story. But I remember I would get bullied for being poor. I get bullied for having, a lot of siblings. I get bullied for having buck teeth. I get bullied for my hair. I get bullied for everything. And I remember these things I couldn't change, right? I wasn't getting braces, even though I found out when I was older I should have gotten braces. But it wasn't something that like back in like, the 80s and 90s you would get braces for. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's a lost in the weeds topic. But I couldn't control that. Same thing with like not having a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of money. But it didn't change the fact that like I never felt we were poor, because poor is a mindset. I had my father, rest in peace. He was very sick. I had my mother who tried very hard. I had all my siblings who I was very close with, sometimes, and I never felt that way. But I couldn't control that. I had my family. Like we were a big Irish Italian family, and I remember one thing that I could control that was a non-negotiable from Jump Street was me being a vegetarian. I remember I got bullied. That's probably what I got made fun of the most for, that I didn't give a damn about. Because I was like, listen, I can't eat animals. I cannot eat animals. I'll be unhealthy the rest of my life, but I cannot eat animals. And that was a non-negotiable line in the sand, and I stood firm on that. Probably one of the very first soapboxes, but I stood firm on that. And it's weird because even though like that was considered weird back in like the 90s, it's popular now and stuff, but I didn't care because I was like, well, this means a lot to me. But I cared about everything else that I couldn't control. You know what I'm saying? So, I remember growing up and thinking I had to act a certain way or be a certain way or talk a certain way. And then the same thing, even when I got into like the trades, that was different, but I liked it. It was a thing that I liked, and I didn't get made fun of so much for that. I did get a lot of like haters because I was like just kicking ass welding. Like I was, I remember in my class, in my high school welding class, I was just a nasty TIG welder. I was just so good. Women have better eye-hand coordination than men. And that's not like shade. There's obviously very, very great, fantastic, and well-rounded male welders, but women have we have a knack for it, a natural knack for welding, specifically TIG welding. But I remember getting, not really getting too much stuff for that, but as I got older, I really cared what people thought, and I remember trying to dull down who I was, and I'm a very eccentric type of person. I'm radical with a lot of things. I'm eccentric. I don't know, like if you're into like astrology or whatever, which I can't say I'm really into it, but I have to say that, being a Sagittarius, being the year of the tiger, being a fire sign, like it's kind of all, it's like me, you know what I'm saying? Like that's who I am type of thing. But my sister, who I'm very close with, she teaches me a lot about, she's a born again Christian, and we talk a lot about that. We talk about like forbidden knowledge and things like that. So there is a lot of truth in astrology. But anyway, so that's a whole other topic. But I remember thinking I was just very ashamed of who I was. And I remember I always had to like fill this void of being someone different. And I was I always forget to bring up the martial art aspect. That's how I even met my husband. That shaped a lot of how my life is and the way I raise my children, being a martial artist. I haven't trained in a couple of years, but it's something that I'll always go back to, But I always felt like, I was never good enough to be who I was. Oh, those people can be who they are because they're better than I am. And that really goes into like childhood trauma. And I know that we all have some form of it in some form or another, whatever the situation is. Some might be mild that others are looking at. Others might be like, wow, you went through that, But I think it all goes down to self-worth issues, and it starts with the seed. It starts with what was planted. And I'll say this much, I'm trying to grow some like gnarly sunflowers this year. Every year I overwater. I'm like a chronic overwaterer. And there's this disease, charcoal rot, I think it's called, that my sunflowers get all the time, and it sucks, and I hate it. They get big, they get beautiful, but then they die fast because they're overwatered. And it starts from when they're a seed. And when you think about like people, when you think about humans, think about like this, like where they came from. You can look at the parents, but look at the nurturing, look at the care, look at, you know, the experiences that they went through in childhood, and you'll see like that's where things affect you the most when you get older. So like you may be watering a sunflower and thinking everything's gravy until, you know, like the sunflower sprouts are great, they're strong, the stalk is strong, it's getting tall, it's beautiful, and then when they get to maturity, that's when you see the problems. That's when inside the stem has issues. And I only bring that up as an analogy because that's how people are. You know what I'm saying? And I see it the most with people and their self-conscious, like, and their self-worth issues. And that's me. And that's me 100%. And it took me till I was in my 30s to realize that my childhood had a big hand in how I feel about myself. And it affected the way that I treat my children, because I know that every time I scold them or I talk to them or I discipline in some form, I never hit my kids. That my parents are very heavy-handed, but I never hit my children, and I made it a point to, the way that I would correct them or discipline them verbally, I would do it in a sense that it wouldn't affect their character and who they felt themselves as a person. Do you know what I'm saying? And that ties into a different topic of abuse and things like that. But, you know, I always knew to be very careful. Even if I was in a bad mood, whatever, I could get sharp. You know, go inside, do this, do that. And then I'd immediately apologize. Take full accountability. And I think taking accountability in my life started when I had children, because I knew I never wanted them to grow up needing healing from their childhood. You know, now granted, I'm completely insane. I'm a nut job, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, you know? Like, I have OCD. I have, you know, there's constantly friggin', you know, light shows at my house with the light switching and things like that. My kid, whatever, right? That's just who I am. I don't take medication. I don't, you know, I just embrace who I am and I live with that, right? But I will say, like, so my kids might, when they're older, they might have, I'm sure they have so many inside jokes against me, because of course their father's cool as a cucumber, you know what I'm saying? Like, and their mother's just like, wah! Like all crazy. So I'm sure they'll have hang-ups and jokes and whatever against me, because it's already starting. But anyway, so what's going on over here? Damn, West Beach Bathhouse in Long Beach is poppin'. Monday. See, that's what I'm saying. I can't be doing all that. I cannot be doing the busy beach stuff. But anyway, that was something I wanted to mention, because a lot of people that don't feel good enough, a lot of that stems from their childhood. A lot of that stems from insecurities that they had. Maybe they too were bullied. Unfortunately, a lot of kids were. You know, that's... Hold on one second. I feel like nobody really knows how to drive a traffic circle. And I mean, it makes sense because we don't learn that really, right? In like driver's ed. But I'm always nervous taking a traffic circle, because I know people around me probably don't know how to use one, because I'm in an area where, you know, there's a lot of tourists and stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. So I bring that up, that whole topic, to talk about embracing who you are, right? Like, now there's things you can change, okay? There's definitely things you can change. So for example, for me, I mentioned in my live briefly, but I've never been a morning person. Honestly, I feel like I would revert back to being like a night owl. I feel like that's what I would be like. I think that's my natural state of being. However, in my life, in my, you know, in this stage of my life, in order to optimize my day, I have to be a morning person. I have to learn to love it, right? So that was one thing that I wanted to change about myself. But when it comes to like embracing who I am, you know, as long as you do things, like let's say let's say you're not a good person, right? That's a different story. That's a totally different story. You know, let's say you rob, cheat, steal, hurt people, whatever. That's a different story, okay? And that's something that, you know, if I guarantee you, if you look at people like that, you go back to their childhood and you have a whole story there that you can be like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway, I digress. But I felt like I was not good enough for a long time. And when I really take a like an audit of who I am as a person, I start to realize that I'm actually a very good person. And it sounds funny when people say that. They're like, oh, conceited, whatever, right? Sorry, roadkill. But when it comes to like who you are as a person, like look at yourself, look at your accountability, look in the mirror. Do you like what you see? And I'm not talking about aesthetics, right? Because we can get into the fact that, a lot of people are overweight, they're trying to lose weight, like myself. But I'm talking about your soul level. Like, are you at where you want to be? And do you like who you are? And when you start to look at like, I love myself because of this, because I'm quirky, because I think I'm funny. And if somebody doesn't think I'm funny, they're not funny. You know what I mean? Like, I look at myself and I take everything out that I want to change, and I look at the core of who I am. Charisma is one thing. Jim Rohn always said that, and I loved this saying, or this, I'm paraphrasing, but charisma is what you have when you try to gain favor from people. So if you look at a lot of YouTubers like Trisha Paytas, and I said I wasn't gonna name names, damn it. Not that I hate her, I just don't like her. Okay, let's just throw it out there. I have a big problem. She's very anti-animals. She's hurt a lot of people in different communities, whatever. That's a whole other story. But when it comes to, like your self-audit, and you're looking at like, the Jim Rohn thing. So when Jim Rohn would say there's charisma, like people like, Colleen Ballinger, Trisha Paytas, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, they're very charismatic. They wrap people up. They're very, they fake the funk, right? That's pretty much the biggest thing you could say. You can be charismatic and like car salesman, right? You can be a charismatic car salesman, you make a lot of sales, but there's an aura of not being who you are when you're being charismatic. You know what I'm saying? Because you just turn on the charm, when people talk about that. And someone's like driving, but I don't know what they're doing. It looks like they're just having a really wild headbanging session. Hold on, everyone. I want to see what's going on with this guy. In a Tesla. All right. I dig it. This guy waved to me. That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyway, sorry. I had to look at that. Very cool, man. He was in a suit. Good looking man. Do your thing, baby. Anyway, back to charisma, okay? So Jim Rohn would say that it's one thing to have charisma and charm people and, get deals and, make closings for, business or whatever. It's another thing to have character. And when you really look at yourself, do you have good character? Because that is something that you can't fake. You can't fake the funk with character. It's who you are. It's your character, Like, would you steal from someone? Would you hurt an animal? Would you be kind to someone that no one else is kind to? Whatever. Like, if you look at it like that and ask yourself that serious question, then you'll start to realize that most people are good people. They're good people. And yes, there's things that you want to change and think whatever. That's all superficial. When it comes to the core, the crux of it, when it comes to the nitty-gritty, do you have good character? And then you can build yourself off of that. And that's something that I've had to ask myself time and time again. Who I was. Who am I, right? Like, who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And then you take the foundation of your character, where you're at, work on some things like there are things that I want to work on in the sense of like, if I have a problem with someone, and this is just like being completely honest, I don't know if I'm still recording, it's like a bad angle, I'm sorry, whatever. This is gonna get, because I'm driving. Okay. If I have let's say I have a falling out with someone, I cut people off. I cut them off. There's no olive branches because I cut them off. I like samurai sword, cut people's heads off. Like I just will stop talking to them. And it's happened with family, it's happened with close friends of mine. And it's a very, I don't know if it's a survival mechanism that I have, so I don't get hurt, or I'm not really sure what it is. But that's something that I want to change. I want to be more of a problem solver. You know, if I have an issue with a relationship or whatever, which is very, very few and far between, because the relationships that I have in my life mean a lot to me, and I do my best, especially as I get older. You know, I was a big hothead when I was a kid, and when I say kid, I mean even in my 20s, like when I was younger. Especially being a young mom, I felt like everyone was judging me. And yes, of course they were, but I always felt like, I always assumed things that weren't true. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was coming from a place of being self-conscious, coming from a place of feeling not good enough, not worthy, things like that. But that's one thing that I want to work on, and not being so quick to cut someone off. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, embrace who you are. You know, when you see like Hallmark cards, not memes, but like quotes, and people will share motivational things, but it's a lot harder and more complex than screenshotting a quote that you like and then, you know, breezing back at it when you're looking for something else and then see it and they're like, huh, nice, and then keep scrolling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot more in depth than that. And I guess my whole takeaway from this this shenanigans of a video is that in order to really, you know, love yourself, you got to take an audit of yourself. You got to see the things that you love, and you got to grab onto that and be like, you know what, I am a good person. I would help someone in need. I would help animals. I always say animals. Animals are near and dear to my heart. Not lizards, though, but that's a different story. But, you know, animals are near and dear to my heart, and, you know, old people especially, you know, people that, I don't know, my sister always says this. She's like, you talk to everyone. She's like, you talk to the wounded birds of society. And I think because when I meet somebody, I immediately, and I think I do that a lot now being in the union, I immediately try to find out where's the good. Where's the good? Where's the, you know, where can I relate? Where's the relatability? Where's the soul of that person? And then let me work with that person. You know, sidestep, but I've had jobs, and this is not patting myself on my back, but this is, again, more of a survival instinct, because I also felt like I could never compete where I can't compare. You know, if I didn't have nice clothes, but I still wanted to make friends, how did I do that? Well, I try to be a people person. I try to, you know, I'm a very extrovert, introvert, whatever that means. But, like, I've been on jobs in construction, and even, you know, union, non-union, wherever, where I was the only person that could talk, could advise, could work with someone. Because time and time again, I can't work with that guy, you work with that guy. I worked with the guy for 7 months. Listen, he was a very difficult guy to work with, but no one else could work with him. And I remember one time, I got into a little tiff with him, but we steamrolled past it, whatever, but I made a comment to my foreman, and he was like, listen, I don't know what to tell you because you're the only one that could work with him, so you gotta work with him. And the guy was an animal, fantastic plumber. He left the union, went back to non-union. But he was great. He was banging work out, but he needed an apprentice. And I remember talking to people, and everyone's like, if I have to work with that guy, I'm gonna just leave. I'm just gonna, you know, take a layoff, go to a different job, not come in that day. I refuse to work with this guy. So I've always found ways to find the soul in someone. And you'd be surprised, like, the more difficult the person is, the more interesting that person is, the funnier that person is a lot of times. You know, a lot of times they're maybe they put a front up, you know, and I've done that for sure. Like, you know, people call it resting bitch face a lot, but look past that. Maybe that's a person that's been hurt, you know, cheated on, maybe they've had losses in their life. And, you know, it's all just like looking through people. It's having empathy. It's having empathy for people. And when you start to have empathy, that's when I feel like you really learn that, like, you know, we all have a story. Everyone has a story, you know, and that's why I get annoyed when people change that story. You know, they add things to it, but there is also an aspect of coping. You know, if someone had a traumatic childhood or something like that and they change things, by all means, whatever helps you cope, you know what I'm saying? Like, because that's a different story as well. But back to, like, just embracing who you are. I just feel like it's like, there's so many, what is that called? Like landmines when I talk about stuff like that, because it really, there's many branches of topics that branch into self-worth issues. You have your past, you have the way you were raised, you have your parents, you have your siblings, you have your experiences, you have your socioeconomic status, you have your race, your religion. Like, there's so many things. Everybody has a different story, and everyone sees things through a different lens. And that's why I think empathy is needed in 2023. I think it's lacking. I do. I truly believe that. And I don't know, I feel like once you have empathy for other people, for animals, for just our environment, for the surroundings around you, I feel like that's when you can really start to be like, lifting yourself up, especially if you're someone that doesn't feel good enough. You know what I mean? Because we're all in this collectively. We're not making it out alive. And I think life's too short to not embrace who you are. And like I said, to my point, for a long time, I was ashamed of who I was. I was ashamed of, of how I looked. I was ashamed of, my parents. I was so embarrassed. It breaks my heart because my father, rest in peace, I've mentioned him twice today. Hold on one second. Ah! That sounded like I don't even know what that sounded like. What was that even? It sounded like a call, like a crow. Caw-caw! Hold on. I gotta go on the Ocean Parkway real quick. Or Meadow Parkway. You would think I know the roads. I've only been taking this route for like the last 10 months. I want a Jeep with no windows too. But I got a mommy van I gotta work with right now. Alright, so are we on me? Alright. Sorry guys. Much apologies. Alright, so my father, I'm trying to remember where I left off with things, because I heard from someone a long time ago that when you get lazy with your memory, that's a prerequisite for dementia. So her father had dementia. I haven't talked to her in years. I hope he's doing well if he's still around. But anyway, so like my dad, I remember I was so ashamed of him. But my dad was freaking nuts too, man. He would we'd have like a broken down van, and he would like roll up to my school with like a pimp hat on, and I'm like, Dad, stop. And he'd be like, bye, Brockster. And he just like, he was so cringy. He was like the embodiment of cringe in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? But I think of those times, right? And I remember being ashamed. I remember I hate my parents. I wish I just had another family, whatever. And I remember thinking like, what I wouldn't give to have my dad embarrass me like that one more time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then as you get older, and that's the bittersweet thing about aging is, it's as you get wisdom as you get older. They say youth is wasted on the young. And it's a damn shame. But yeah, I mean, once I really came around to the fact that, like, listen, like, you had your experiences, and I talk about this with my sister a lot. We had, am I still recording? Okay. We had our own experiences, our own traumas as kids, but that made us who we are, and the thing is too, is like, you always want to be better, you always want to take your journey and become better. Unfortunately, some people succumb to their journey. I know a lot of people in my life that have passed away young from all different reasons, and you gotta just pause for a second and be like, they never got a second chance to live the life of their dreams, right? They never got the second chance to love themselves. You got a lot of people that are stuck in addiction and they die in that addiction, and they didn't love themselves. They were battling some major demons, and it's sad, when you think about it. So all in all, it's hard not to get, I'm trying to weed whack over here and not get stuck in the freaking weeds, but it's hard to not get stuck in the weeds with a topic like this. I think that everyone should embrace who they are. But they should start by first embracing their story. Because I think when you find, comfort in your childhood, when you find comfort in your story, that's when you can grow, a new seed of sorts, right? And let go of, the old hang-ups that are keeping you behind mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy too how if you don't feel good about yourself, how that manifests how you treat other people. It's people don't realize that, you know, and a lot of people will say, oh, that person's just miserable, that person's just this, that person's just that. They're not happy for a reason, right? They have their own story. But when that happens, when they're not happy with themselves, when they're not embracing who they are, when they feel like they're stuck, right? Maybe you faked the funk for so long and then now you're stuck in a fake persona. You know, that's something that can lead people to being very unhappy and treating people around them poorly. So it's just something to consider. Embrace who you are. You know, I'm sure when you clicked on this video, you're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be like an empowerment thing. And I guess in a sense it is, but the elephant in the room is the childhood, man. The elephant in the room is developmental, is the stories that you have that led you to that place. You know, you don't just have self-conscious issues, at least self-confidence issues, at least in my situation, you know? And I'm speaking for myself. Maybe some people are born with that, but from what I find, it's usually shaped around your surroundings, around how other people made you feel about yourself, and you're holding on to feelings about yourself that other people put in your head, you know? Like, I remember I had people tell me in my childhood that, like, you know, I've been told I was broken before, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I have OCD and because I just do things a little differently than other people, and I remember believing that. And I remember believing when I dabbled into drugs and things like that, I remember thinking, like, you know, I'm not good enough, you know, I'm broken. That's kind of like how I felt, you know? And it wasn't, again, until I got into my 30s. Really, I mean, honestly, when I started training, when I started getting into martial arts, I felt good. I felt strong. I felt, you know, I could change things, but I always ignored my past. And it wasn't until I got to the root and I yanked you cannot, like they say in gardening, right? Because I'm a nerd and I like to call myself a gardener, but I like to fake the funk about being a gardener. But it's always some type of drama in my garden. But, you know, one thing that I learned with weeds is that when you pull a weed, a lot of times, like, if the weed's too big, like, I'd get lazy, break the weed and rip it out. But I never got the root. You have to get the root. You have to get the root because it'll always grow back. And that's the same thing with how you feel. You know, if you just kind of gloss over, you know, things that have affected you in life, that have shaped the way that you think about yourself and others, you know, that's not getting to the core root of the issue. It's only until you face that core, that root, and you yank it out and you acknowledge it for what it is, and the time has passed and the person that you have become because of that, that's the only way that you can change, and that's the only way that I believe that a lot of people can love themselves. So let's all normalize addressing childhood trauma, you know, addressing, you know, our self-worth issues from what we were told as kids, and changing the narrative. I no longer tell myself I'm worthless. I don't tell myself that anymore. I don't tell myself that I'm not good enough. Even in the union, and I think that's probably why I threw myself in such a difficult trade, because I'm like, I'm someone that can go anywhere, learn anything, and get to the top. That's kind of like, maybe that's a little narcissistic of me, but I feel like you need to have that energy in order to make the changes that you want in your life. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so thank you guys for joining me on my my drive home. I still have, like, I don't know, half an hour, but there's music I gotta blast. You guys aren't gonna want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for tuning in today. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you're someone that deals with self-worth issues, and like I said, let me just say this. I'm not someone that thinks I'm all that in a bag of chips. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about the 90s. Let's talk about some lingo from the 90s. I'm not someone like that at all. I'm still very self-conscious in certain things. But I'm taking that energy, and instead of thinking, like, I wish I was like this, I wish I had this, I wish I could fit in these pants, whatever, I'm taking that energy and I'm actually moving with it. Be like, okay, you feel this way, all right, now I need that energy, actually, because I'm not drinking caffeine anymore, so let me get that energy back, you know what I mean? Okay, you are upset about something, let me grab this, let me do this, whatever. Like, I'm trying to use my insecurity, stomp it out, and just make moves with it. All right, you want to lose weight, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it. Let's make moves, you know? But I will say, as of 2023, I do love myself. And I remember when my doctor, he asked me if I love myself, and I cried, and I was like, I don't know why I cried. He's like, you have a lot of self-healing to do. You know, he's like, you have a lot of inner healing to do. He was like, you have to forgive people. You have to, you know, because we hold on to this stuff. We hold on to it. Every experience that you have, you hold on to. You just do. You hold on to it. And it's kind of like it's like micro attachments, right? It's like, you know, maybe someone cut you off, and that's a perfect analogy. When you're having a bad day, right? Little things will attach themselves to you. Person cut you off, you know, on the way to the store, right? Maybe, you know, you're at the checkout line, and the cashier closes the line when you already have all your food on the freaking conveyor belt, and you're like, you know, it's just, well, the bill collector's calling you, you know, spam, whatever. You get into a fight with a coworker, you get into a fight with a spouse, you get into a fight with a kid. It's like these things attach to you, and they can really bring you down. You got to kind of be like, you know, like slick, and let things bounce off of you, and really try to create a core that is unpenetrable. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. Like, your confidence is not based on your day. Your confidence not based on someone telling you that you'll never make it in this industry. You just can't do it. Women don't make it in this industry, okay? You know how many times I've been told that, too, for plumbers? This is, why don't you get a desk job? Like, if I listened to any of these jackasses, I would have dipped out a while ago. But I listen to it, I don't absorb it, and I let it pass. You entertain it, you let it pass. You keep it moving. That's it. That's the trick, in my opinion. You know, and I have to say, like, the more and more I'm really getting into, like, my past, my history, you know, opening up, sharing videos, working out, like, getting sleep. Like, it sounds funny about the sleep thing, but sleep's so important. It really is. It'll change everything. The more I'm doing that, the better I'm feeling. And the more I feel like I want to really interact with others about this topic. You know, I'm not a counselor, you know, and I would say this, I'm a nobody, but I'm a somebody to someone, you know, but I'm just a plumbing apprentice. I'm a humble plumbing apprentice, but I just have a lot of experience, and I've had a lot of stories, and, you know, just different things that have happened to me in my life that I hope that by sharing these things, you know, somebody can pick it up and be like, damn, I've been through something similar, you know. So I'll let you guys go. I got to jam out to some dubstep before I get home, but I'm literally gonna listen to, like, the Blue Oyster Cult. Don't feel the Fear of the Reaper on loop. Let's be honest. But if you guys, if you are going through your own thing, you know, leave me a comment below. Send me a comment. You know, if you want to send me a DM, if you feel funny, you know, leaving a public comment, send me a DM on Instagram at Meet Brooke. That's like my trades page, but I do talk to people on that page. But there's also Meet Brooke Irene. You can hit me up. Anybody, if you follow me on YouTube, just hit me up, and I'll look at my others or whatever. And I'll be happy to respond to you. I'm always looking to meet people. I'm always looking to interact with other people. And that's another reason why I love doing my old podcast. And I hope that I can kind of pick up that same energy with doing these YouTube videos. But with that said, I'll let you guys go. I hope you all have a great day ahead, and I will check you back again on the next video. Take care, friends.